Hello everyone and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Protoss versus Zerg where we find ourselves on Glittering Ashes. Spawning right here in the top right hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Protoss probe from Germany, we have ShoWTimE. And his opponent in the opposite corner with the red Zerg drones from South Korea, we are looking at Dark's main hatchery. Alrighty, so this particular game was played during IEM Katowice, and from what I've heard, Dark apparently has a very cool approach to SkyToss. So I don't know who ends up winning this game, I just know that, well, I guess it's not really a surprise, right? It's ShoWTimE, it's on one of the very biggest maps in the current map pool. He likes to open up with the standard in pretty much every single one of his games, and well, the current standard in PvZ is, of course, that Stargate focus. Now, most Zerg players really enjoy just simply sitting back, making a million spore crawlers, and creating that stalemate, right? That's what we see from a lot of the top-tier Zerg players, like, for example, Serral. He's definitely not afraid to go for timing attacks against it, but most of the time, if he's playing, like, a super straightforward game, he will go for that literal 100 spore crawler approach, where you just simply prevent the Protoss player from really getting any damage in. And then eventually, we get into, like, a split map scenario, and usually from there, those top-level Zerg players tend to win. That being said, apparently Dark takes an entirely different approach this time around, so I'm excited to find out exactly what he ended up going for. So, I'm not really expecting any fireworks right here in the earlier stages of the game. Got ourselves a very quick gas geyser right here for ShoWTimE, followed up with a gateway as well as a nexus on the low ground. He'll go for the cyber core here soon enough, and I'm expecting Dark to go for a pretty quick third hatchery. Yep. Now, by the way, in case my voice sounds a little bit funny, you know that, like, that thing that's been going around the world over the last couple of years, right? I tested positive for that yesterday. Not really feeling too bad, to be honest. I slept a little bit more than usual, but I do have a bit of an itchy throat. So I'm trying to pace myself and not talk too loud and all that, but yeah, in case I sound a little bit lower energy, and my voice sounds just a little bit different than it normally does, that is why. But so far, honestly, it's not really too bad. Gotta take it easy over the next couple of days. So rather than casting, I think this was a best of 5 series, rather than casting the entire best of 5, I'll just, you know, settle for the one game right here on a Glittering Ashes. Alright, so there it is. The Stargate coming up right here from Mr. ShoWTimE. Double gas already. Dark is gonna go straight into the main base right now as well. He's already seen the timing right there of the warp gate research, as well as that adept that has started up, so this will not come as a surprise to him whatsoever. ShoWTimE usually will focus on whatever he thinks is best in the current meta. So I know the German efficiency is a bit of a stereotype, but generally he does really play that most efficient style that he can come up with. And 9 times out of 10 currently, of course, that is that Stargate opener. Now, in case you missed it, last week Blizzard did announce a multiplayer balance patch. So that should go live over the next couple of weeks. I don't really know exactly when, but if you're interested, I'll go ahead and post a link to that video that I covered, or where I go over the changes that I uploaded last week. I'll go ahead and post a link to that down below in the description of this video, so you can go check it out after this. But most of the changes that are being made to the game are specifically to address Protoss versus Zerg. So for example, these bad boys right over here, right, the Void Rays, they are becoming 50 minerals more expensive, and they're gonna go from 37 to 43 seconds of build time. Definitely doesn't make them pointless, definitely still makes them pretty good, but it does mean that I think most Protoss players will probably start experimenting with some other build orders as well. I mean, right now we see Protoss is going for a third base at about 345, like 350, kind of depending on execution. I guess you can still open up with a Void Ray, but you're gonna have to go for like a, I don't know, a 355 or so third base. Maybe even a little bit sooner than that. So the differences honestly will not really be that significant, but I think for the most part, it's going to force a lot of Protoss players to experiment once again with Twilight Council openers, Robotics Facility openers, and honestly, over the last couple of days, that's really all I've been playing on the ladder myself. Most Protoss players are now going for a variety of builds once again, which has been really exciting. Now, even though Zerg players have been complaining over the last couple of years about these Void Ray openers, I wonder how long it's going to be until, you know, the new patch is out, and how long it'll be until Zerg players start begging to get Void Rayed once again. The thing is, there's a lot of variety. So, for example, I've been playing against, like, triple Dark Templar opener or quadruple Dark Templar opener into Archon drops. I've been playing against Glaive the Depths. I've been playing against Archon Immortal all-ins. I've been playing against Immortal Sentry all-ins. I've been playing against a variety of stuff. And the thing about all of those Protoss build orders that they do all require a specific approach. You can't just go like the 5-gate all-in, for example, where you don't go for any kind of tech structure. You can't just autopilot. Whereas against these Void Ray openers, most of the time, you can just go for your standard 4.5 minute lair, and then a Roach Warren a little bit afterwards. You can go into your Evo chamber and your nice and comfortable quick fourth. You're not going to be able to do that against many of those ground-based openers, and well, I definitely do think it will make the game better overall. It is going to be an interesting time when, you know, especially Zerg players, I think, will start complaining about the other builds that have always already been possible, but when they will be commonly played on the ladder once again as well. Anyhow, there's the third Stargate, right? Yeah, third Stargate already together with a fleet beacon. +1 attack is coming up here as well. I'm assuming that a Zergling ran on over here. Just to, scout that there is something spinning right there inside of that cybernetics core. Since warp gates are done, actually that was a couple of kills. Yeah. Since warp gates here are done, you know that it can only ever be attack armor, or attack or armor for the flying units. So the cybernetics core has 3 different upgrades. +1 flyer attacks, +1, well, flyer armor, and then also warp gates. So if you see that something is being researched right there after warp gates are already done, it is always going to be some sort of flyer attack. The reason for it is specifically those big boys, right? So carriers, they carry 8 little interceptor ships, and every single one of those interceptor ships attacks twice, and every single one of those attacks gets +1 additional damage for every single cybernetics core attack upgrade that you get. So armor upgrades, still very good, but you definitely do want to prioritize those air weapon attacks if you are Protoss. Anyways, what do we have right here? So one thing we've noticed from Zerg recently is that they refuse to make Hydralisks. Hydras have kind of become like, the best way to think about Hydralisk is like baby lurkers. We only really ever see them. This is a little silly, actually. Dark giving his opponent vision right there of the Spire. We don't really see Hydras unless you plan on going for lurkers. So both Serral has been doing this, but also, like, for example, Dark apparently. Just no more Hydra then, just mass queen. So we're currently sitting at 9 queens. And then, oh, okay, 13 Mutalisks. So that's the approach that people have been talking about, huh? So Serral has been going straight into Corruptors. And apparently Mr. Dark here is going... Oh, well, he did snipe one of his opponent's oracles right here. He's going straight into Mutalisks. I have seen Serral do this as well. It's just that the counterattack that will more often than not happen from here is going to be extremely hard to hold. So already, ShoWTimE not just turtling up, right? He knows what he needs to do. He's sending the units in. And the problem is, Mutas are fantastic at, like, harassment, but they really suck at fighting opposing units. So they're good if you have, like, I don't know, 50 of them or something. Then you maybe can start thinking about taking out carriers. But more often than not, this is going to get a little bit messy. Okay, so the Mutas are indeed going in for the counterattack, whereas the Protoss air army right now is taking out the 4th base, and I don't think there's really a whole lot that Dark can do about this. Nicely done right there by ShoWTimE. At the same time, though, yeah, the recall now will be forced. Mutas are inside of the main base, killing loads of workers. Zerglings also were threatening to go into the 3rd and the 4th base, but they have been pushed back for the time being. Yeah, so Mutas are very much so harassment tools. You really don't think... I really don't think that I'm gonna see too many units killed here by those Mutas, because even right now they kill 2 Void Rays, but it also goes at the cost right there of, like, a ton of them. So was that worth it? 22 Mutas right... Or, sorry, 22 probes right here for 5 Mutalisks? Apparently, according to Dark... I mean, obviously, he's also lost the 4th base, right? Apparently, according to Dark, he's gonna double down on the Mutas, so I guess so. In the meantime, he's also double expended right here to the left side of the map, and he's actually mining only gas over here. Except for a couple of drones, but... Usually, if you want to go for this many gases so quickly, you want to double down on the Muta production. Corruptors added into the mix as well. Protoss right now forced to transition away from that carrier production, though. Yeah, you kind of need something to counter those Mutas, I suppose, and... That's usually where the Phoenixes come in. So he's making both Mutas and Corruptors. That is not something we normally see. I've seen this a little bit in, like, Zerg versus Zerg. Huh. So since he's also upgrading melee attacks, I'm fairly certain Dark is just going to try and harass his opponent to death in this game. I think the win condition is to try and prevent the Protoss from ever maxing out. Oh. Try and prevent the Protoss player from ever maxing out. and just try and send wave after wave of units at him and see how that goes. Obviously, if Dark ever goes up against a maxed out SkyToss army, though, there's really not that much that, yeah, he's going to be able to do if he has this many Mutas. Alright. Couple of free units, not bad. Couple of free zealots. Alright. So a few Archons are added into the mix. Some static defense as well, which I think is a great choice. Especially right next to a shield battery. One of those Archons can stay alive for a long time. So Phoenixes, of course, can move and shoot at the same time, which is huge. These Zerg units do not have that luxury. Oh. Oh my god, he's actually going in with the Mutas. Really? Alright, Prismatic Alignment once again activated. A lot of the Protoss units right there, though. Ugh. Yeah, at low health, but not really getting that much work in. That was not as ideal. Nah, that was a lot. There's a lot of damage right there. That being said, okay, Dark is even getting the gases right here at the 5th base as well as the 6th. So Dark is basically getting 12 gas income. Now he's switching away from Mutas, it seems, going heavily into Corruptors instead. Do you go double Spire with this? I almost feel like you should go double Spire. I feel like that would make more sense. Double Spire, double upgrades, double Evo, double upgrades. Ah, Dark has probably run the numbers. He's probably tested this out. I mean, this is an important tournament match, right? So I don't think he's just messing around here. So personally, I don't really like the I'm never gonna attack you type of approach that we see from that we see from most of the top level Zerg players, where they just simply sit back for the majority of the game and sit behind their Spore Crawler walls. Never been a huge fan of that. This is definitely a whole lot more interesting. Now at this point, the Anion Pulse Crystals upgrade is also done here for those Phoenixes. So the Phoenixes are capable of now hitting the opponent at a lot of range. Nice defense right there as well by ShoWTimE. Preventing units from going into the bases. Apparently also forced to kill one of his own gateways right there to get the Archon out. Okay. This is going much better here for Dark than I had anticipated. There's finally the Speedy Boy upgrade as well for those Void Rays. I wouldn't mind seeing some Storms here, though. So we have a few High Templar in here, but no research right there on the Psionic Storm, which is definitely something that I would have expected already. I mean, it's an expensive upgrade, don't get me wrong. Zerglings right now, once again, sneak into the base. And this is where Dark is very good, right? Once you start slipping up, Dark is gonna be all over you. Although, well, their shield batteries are keeping that photon cannon alive for quite some time. We don't have Hive Tech here for the Zerg, so no adrenal glands or anything along those lines that make those Mutas, those Zerglings significantly more powerful. Okay, there's another carrier going down. How many Mutas have died so far? 42! That's the answer to the life of the universe and everything. Okay, the Queen's here, though. The Queen's just keeping that one Spine Crawler alive for such a long time. Zealots, though, charging at this Zerg army, and what seemed like a really good start right here for Dark is now starting to backfire, although he is reinforcing this with more Mutas, more Roaches. It looks like eventually this Protoss army will be pushed back. Now imagine this with Storm. I think a couple of Storms right there would have changed everything. ShoWTimE apparently opting to go for more Archons here instead, but Storm is... it's not a cheap upgrade, but I think you'd rather have one less Archon right here and add Psionic Storm into the mix. Okay, some damage here being done as well. But nice defense right here by Dark. Multitasking at a couple different angles at once. You can see that the APM is slowly climbing up here for both of these players. Obviously, as this game goes on, players will be expanding closer and closer to one another as well, right? So soon the bases on the flanks are going to be very critical. 8 more Mutas. I like how Dark looks at this. He's like, you know what? If my opponent is making a ground army, you know what's really good against ground units that can't shoot up? Couple of Mutas added into the mix. Okay. These Zealots over here are quite nice, though. Yeah, forcing this entire Zerg ground army to go on over towards the left side of the map. Maybe some caustic spray here on the base. Stalkers are being warped in. Do we have Blink done? We do not have Blink done. Yeah, Blink gets Storm. Seems like a no-brainer, right? But apparently ShoWTimE is feeling like he can win with a timing attack here instead. I mean, this is going to be one hell of a push. Zealots on the left side of the map will definitely be cleaned up. This base will once more go down. Second time in this game. That being said, that is a lot of Ravagers. Zerg can obviously produce a lot of those very quickly. Only one Immortal right here in the mix, and now the Mutas are showing up as well. Mutas gotta be careful though. Archons obviously deal splash damage. Okay, nice micro right here by Dark though. Dark's so good at that control. Ay, ay, ay. That fight could have backfired so hard there for the Zerg. So Archons deal splash damage in a short area, right? And Mutas obviously have a tendency to stack up. So usually what happens when I play Mutas, in my own games for example, and you'll probably experience this in yours as well, is you stack up the Mutas, you don't pay attention for a split second, and either a bunch of Archons, a Storm, or a Widow Mine, right, or a group of Marines. Like everything, they're very much so paperweights. They have 120 life, which really isn't that much. Anyways, they die very easily, but it turns out that if you control them well, they can certainly pack a punch. So once again, Mutas and Corruptors on the production tab. I think this is the first time I've ever seen this in a Zerg versus Protoss. ShoWTimE producing some Immortals here as well. Probably unsure as to what you should do, right? So what do you do? I feel like you probably go for your, like, all-round good army. Like, there's finally the Prism coming out. I really would like to see Storm. Isn't it good against everything Zerg has got here? I might be mistaken though. But I can also imagine that ShoWTimE has not played against someone going Muta Archon. Or sorry, Muta Corruptor here as his default. Left side of the map, kill right there on the hatchery. Nicely done by ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE has been pushing the expos, by the way. It's super easy to accidentally find yourself out-expended here. But ShoWTimE has been doing a fantastic job keeping most of those workers alive, although I say that. And this might actually be a bit of a problem here, okay. The one pylon powering most of this. Probes are starting to full. Desperate all-army hotkey right here, judging by the fact that the Zealots are trying to get in on this battle as well. "61 probes were killed this game, 21 drones. So look at the left side of the map as well, right? Dark already maneuvering units right there, ready to intercept those Zealots. So he knows that there's Zealots out there somewhere, but he's moving around as if the Zealots are already there. I think that's the sign of a great player. When you're already anticipating movements from your opponent, right? Even though they're not happening in this game, you can see Dark constantly ready to intercept things that aren't even there. Retaking his base, third time. Is he still at Lartech, by the way? Yeah, he's still not at Hive. So we're going just single Evo chamber upgrades. +2/+2, I guess. Just trying to get everything done. Roaches actually now catch a couple of Archons in the middle of the map. Ooh, another one just walks down from the low ground. Another 17 probes end up going down right here. Phoenix is desperately trying to micro against those Mutas. The Corruptors, though, yeah, the Corruptors can chase down the Phoenixes, and then the Mutas have, like, free reign. A very complex Zerg army to control properly. But so far, I mean, this certainly seems viable, right? So even after this meta being around for like 2 years, it's really cool to see that there's still moves going on and new playstyles being figured out. This is the one argument that people make whenever they say, I don't really want to see the patches nearly that often. And I agree with them for the most part. It's just that if you watch StarCraft 2 every day, it can become a little bit tedious when you see the same strats facing off against each other all of the time. But anyways, Zealots are now everywhere. Phoenixes have also found the Mutas. Nicely done right here by ShoWTimE. That being said, it turns out there's multiple groups of flying Zerg units. Zealots, though, are absolutely tearing apart. The base once again ended up going down. Left side of the map also in a lot of trouble. High ground base has already been destroyed. 32 probes have gone down. That being said, if these Mutas, yeah, are left to their own devices, they will certainly kill all of those Zealots. 22 of them remain at this point, but I think that's pretty much all of them right over here. The group on the left side of the map, though, has killed another hatch. And ShoWTimE didn't really lose anything at home other than a bunch of workers. Ooh, he lost the Spire as well, actually. That's a big deal. Yeah, he managed to stay alive here. So he's going for a very Phoenix-heavy army, producing 4 of those at once. Finally, we see some additional cybernetics core upgrades as well, which is awesome. Air weapons level 3, very good for those Phoenixes. Battery overcharge. Okay, Mutalisk can shut that down very easily. I wonder how Dark is hotkeying this. Do you think he's got separate hotkeys for the Corruptors and the Mutas? Probably. Maybe. I don't know. We'd have to change the UI in order to see that. Yeah. I guess once Zerg gets the air dominance, it's very hard to come back into this. Dark at this point also saving up, waiting for that new Spire of his to finish up. It's actually off creep. Protoss obviously is running out of money here in the natural as well as in the main. A lot of Zealot warp-ins still. I think he plans on, well, we have a warp prism over there. Why didn't we warp in over there? Anyways, still trying to deal as much damage here as possible on the other side of the map. 4 more Corruptors added into the mix, but Corruptors obviously only have air-to-air. Oh my god. Dark with 100 probe kills. Cleanly in this game. He's lost 86 Mutas. And he still has 21 left over. So we have 100 plus Mutalisks in a Protoss versus Zerg. 100 plus Mutas versus SkyToss. It's working out surprisingly well. Huh. Still feel like Storm would have been nice. I know I've said that like 17 times already, but... Right now we have 11 Phoenixes and 10 Zealots. Going up against 23 Mutas and 9 Corruptors. I guess the one advantage of like going Mutas is that it forces the Protoss to switch away from carriers, right? Because I mean, the carriers can work out, but... Zerg is just gonna run circles around you. Never actually engage the main army. By the way, I believe it's fine if you watch this video at least 1.5 meters away from your screen. Stop licking your monitor. Alright, now stop it. Stop. Come on. So far, it's not really been that big of a deal. I found out yesterday I was feeling pretty bad for a couple days. And so far, I mean, if it remains like this, I've had plenty of throat and like, you know, little pains here and there in the past. Usually, right, the reason why I did a test is because I wanted to check, but most of the time whenever I have like an itchy throat or my voice is feeling a little bit funny, it's because I've been talking too much. So, for example, last week I streamed like 40 hours. So I was like, oh, it's probably because I streamed a little bit too much. Turns out it wasn't. Alright, nice magic boxing right there on the Mutas as well. Corruptors. Chasing a lot of this army down. Those Phoenixes, though, outranging everything, right? So with good control, yeah, I really do like what Mr. ShoWTimE here is doing. With good control. He can theoretically kill everything here that the Zerg has. Although that one Spore Crawler over here is zoning away against this army as well. Protoss retaking the high ground base. A little bit ballsy here because obviously not really a whole lot of ground army available. Corruptors are really beefy, though. Yeah, their base armor makes this quite a bit better. Still no hive tech, by the way, for Zerg. At this point, ShoWTimE is starting to run out of juice. Dark still has 1,200 minerals worth of, well, stuff. Wouldn't mind it if he decided to spend a whole lot of that on maybe some additional spores or just a whole lot of Zerglings once again for counterattacks. Or queens. That also makes sense. Yeah, 30 Zerglings and 4 queens. Not a bad idea. Corruptors right now chasing down the Phoenixes to the best of their abilities. Mutas have been split off from the pack to try and go after these Zealots. Okay, this is good. This is very good for ShoWTimE. He's got a lot of energy on these. Obviously, Zerg doesn't have that much money anymore either. 33 drones here only. He had to remake his Roach Warren as well. Okay, council right there on that base. There's only one mineral field over here. Actually, ShoWTimE is completely broke. I wonder if maybe he should have gone for the base in the center or the one over here or something. I don't know. Yeah. Careful, Mr. ShoWTimE. Dark at this point doesn't have a lot of income, but it's more than his opponent. Yeah, he's got that freshly acquired base right there on the left side of the map. ShoWTimE, though, realizes that there's no way that his opponent is gonna let him mine, and there's no way he's gonna win with the army that he's got. And with that, it is Dark who obtains the victory.